and that will be sent out probably tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for that. That'll come tomorrow morning. You can go back, watch the recording, anything that is covered during the session. Also attached to that is going to be a survey. Should take you no more than 2 minutes to fill out the survey. We value your opinion as students and alumni here at WGU and want to provide you with the opportunity to give us feedback. So certainly take the time to fill that out. We would appreciate it. And then also go back and reference anything that is covered during this session. The chat is open. Mark, I saw you threw a hello in there. Welcome. The chat is open. We will have a designated Q&A on the back half of this session. So if you have questions, feel free to post those into the chat. Or if you feel up to it, you want to come off mute, you can certainly do that. We just ask raise your hand. There is that feature that you can select, raise your hand, we'll call on you and you come off mute and ask any questions that you might have. So welcome everyone. And what I will do from here is I'm gonna pass it over to Shanell. Shanell, we'd love for you to introduce yourself. What degree did you earn from WGU? What is your current job title and who do you actively work for?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Shanell Murphy, and I am honored to be here tonight. I am a WGU Distinguished Alumna and an active member of our WGU Central Region Alumni Chapter in Health Sciences. I hold a BSN and an MBA with a concentration in healthcare management from WGU, and I recently completed my MSN in Leadership and Management this past summer. Currently, I serve as the Director of Safety, Quality, and Patient Experience at a world-renowned, Cleveland, Ohio is where I live, academic medical center. My role allows me to do patient-centered initiatives, improve healthcare quality, and overall impact patient experience. My journey in healthcare has taken me from bedside nursing to leadership, and I am deeply passionate about patient care, healthcare equity, and mentoring the next generation of leaders.
Awesome. My first question is, what were you doing prior to your current role? And then what inspired you to pursue your current career path?
Well, that takes a little turn for me. I'll go a little back in time. But when I was younger, I always knew that I wanted to be a nurse. And from there, I received my associate's degree in nursing. And I was just fine with that because I said, oh, I get to be at the bedside, be with the patients, and do that, which I love, and move on with my life. I never wanted to do leadership or management. And it was in one of my opportunities working in dialysis where we taught patients how to do that at home. And there was a need for a manager. And I kept saying, I hope they find someone. Geez, these are great people. And we really didn't have a turnout. And so I felt compelled to apply. And that's how I became a manager. It was not something I set out to do. But again, the focus and the why was for the patients. And I loved it. I got to still be hands-on and then behind the scenes. How do you lead a hospital and making sure that you're caring for your community, you care for your employees, and help overall with that. So I did a little bit of that. I transitioned from that to be a director of quality and then a chief nursing officer. And so I took a step back from leading nursing to now have the whole hospital be my patient in a sense.
I love that. And along the way, was there something that really made you fall in love with your career? Something specific? Maybe it was an experience, maybe it was a certain moment, or maybe it was just over the length of time, like it's something that you've really fallen in love with.
Two parts to that. As a nurse doing bedside, and I'm going to go back to dialysis, that really affected me. With those patients, you have the option of getting a transplant, which most people love to receive. And for some, home dialysis was their dignity and having a way to stay at home as they begin to transition from chronic conditions. And patients would come in to see me or go to their homes, and they were always so grateful to me. And I thought, all I'm doing is what I love to do is take care of you and make sure you have what you need and your family has what you need and you feel safe and you feel confident. But each and every time they would tell me, no, Shanell, we thank you. Because without this, we probably have to go into a center and go through all of that 3 days a week. But here we get to do it at home and you actually care. And those stories stick with me so much when you see that you get to be the hand of God in someone's life and help make that possible. For leadership, I would say, because it can be a thankless job sometimes, but one of the defining moments for me was coming into a hospital that wasn't doing so well with performance. And it wasn't that the employees, the caregivers, the team overall weren't executing. It was we just needed to tweak a few things and getting that buy-in from people and going around and rounding with them and helping them remember their why. And we were able to turn it around into a top performing national rehab hospital. And to celebrate that with them and see, hey, look at what we accomplished. That to me is leadership. And again, just focusing back on the community and the patient.
Along the way, did you feel like, and I'm going to steal this from one of my colleagues that asked this question earlier in one of the other sessions that we had, did you feel like imposter syndrome, did that kick in at all, taking on the leadership positions?
Leadership and nursing. When I first became a nurse, I was so terrified. And we had heard these stories about, oh, you better have everything in order because the seasoned nurses don't tolerate that. And so you walk in jittery and then you're afraid of what the patient or the family might be. Turning point for me, I'll never forget this. I was doing bedside reporting with a patient. I'm a brand new nurse on night shift. And the experienced nurse is going over all this stuff, and the patient's looking up at the bed, looking at me. And I'm like, oh gosh, I got to remember to do this. And I got to remember to do that. And I have 8 other patients, mind you, that I have to take care of. And the patient looked at me and she said, honey, I want you to have more confidence if you're going to be my nurse. And I said, yes, ma'am, I will. And that experience taught me, even though I had the book smarts, it's how you go in the room and how you operate with yourself. So that always stuck with me. Like, honey, you gonna have to get it together. So I love that. And then for leadership for so long, RJ, really and truly, I felt, am I in the right path? Should I just go back to bedside because I've gotten comfortable with that? And you get all these different demands from higher ups on the finance side to the clinical operations side, and you have to marry the both. And you begin to question yourself, am I really where I need to be? But I have to say, and I'm going to tweak it right back to WGU, once I got my MBA, uh, that gave me the power and the skill set for me to finally feel, okay, I understand finances a little bit more. I know what you're saying now. Oh, this is what you want from me, instead of just looking at it from a clinical, passionate side, to have that business side. And then once I completed, well, as I was going through the journey, finding joy in the journey, right? With my master's in nursing, that pivoted the whole thing for me. And again, I was just someone happy with an associate's degree. But had I not gotten those 2 degrees, it really helped turn the imposter syndrome to, girl, you got this. And you're where you need to be to make the difference.
And I love that the patient telling you that. I feel like so many people can take that no matter what their career is and apply that. Like, hey, you better have a little bit more confidence walking in here. And I think that speaks to just being comfortable in that environment. And maybe we're not walking into a situation, but at least you can put on that aura, like, and have that presence. Like, I do have confidence walking in here, even if we feel like it's up and down. my next question ties in a little bit the comments that you had touched on with WGU. So why did you end up choosing WGU? And this will be a two-parter. What have you utilized or leveraged since the most since earning your degrees?
Ooh, that's so good. Um, Again, in dialysis, my manager was going through WGU for her bachelor's. And she said, Shanell, why don't you come and you'll love this school. It's self-paced, you'll do whatever. And I said, no, I don't think I want to go that route. I've tried this before. Other schools who are brick and mortar, they also were starting to try the modality of online school, but it was their schedule. And for a nurse who's working 312s at night and I got 3 babies at home, that was not going to work for me. And I initially held off on it for a few months. And I took my BSN. I got the mentor there. That was new and wonderful for me. And the classes, and I was like, oh, I can do this. And I was so excited because you think to yourself, how can you do this with so many competing priorities in life? And WGU made it possible that I could earn my degree on my own terms. And the instructors were so wonderful. To answer the second part, taking from that the mentorship. I have always been, I am still an introvert. And in my mind, I create these scenarios where I'm like, oh, that person's so wonderful. I want to hear from them, but they might be busy. So I don't want to bother them. I don't want to ask. And when I got to the MBA and the MSN, not only having my program mentor, but having the instructors, and they are available and they love to hear from us as students. And it helped me get out of that mindset of I'm bothering someone to I need help. This is where I got so far, etc. And I tied that back into real life where for a while I didn't have a mentor because I'm like, I like all these people and they do excellent stuff and I'm learning from them, but I'm like, I don't want to bother them. And once I started in the MSN track last year, I realized quickly I needed a mentor and I needed someone who can help guide me, carrying it from the collegial standpoint to the application, which is kind of like that Venn diagram where it meets in the middle. And then that mentor outside of there helps me with other professional growth and opportunities.
And that ties right into my next question. It's almost like you're reading my mind here with some of these. But what the importance of mentorship, can you just touch on that? And maybe it is for, maybe somebody stepping into the healthcare field for the first time, or maybe it is stepping into the leadership role for the first time. So can you just touch on, maybe your experience with mentorship, or maybe you've mentored different people and why that's so important. I feel like there's so many people that have a hard time asking for that help, and they feel like to your point, they don't want to bother that individual. So can you just touch on the importance of that it's been on for your career?
Yes, and I'll say that to the current students as well. Your program mentor is your best friend, and it's going to mimic someone in your professional career. Believe me, when they have those calls and they touch those points, I was lucky in my MBA. I had Matt Hall, and I was a nurse, had no clue. And he completed his MBA through WGU. So he knew what I was going through. And that helps when someone has charted those waters that is unfamiliar to you to help give you those nuggets to help you get along quicker and help bridge it all back to you. Inside my professional career, I reached out to someone who was on my board of managers, and she has been very instrumental in my life, not just professionally, but personally, and a lot more opportunities and growth have come from that. But my favorite is mentoring others. I had nurses who felt again, I'm doing the best I can. I know I probably could be doing more. And I said, we're all there. And what can I do to help support you? How can I help you get to where you want to be, your goals? And once we sat down and talked through that, putting together plans that work for them. And I tell you, it is nothing better than when you reach a certain point in life to be able to go back and help the next person after you. I grow so much from that. I love seeing their faces when it's like, oh, I accomplished this goal, or I'm getting ready to go to the next pivot. But mentorship is a life hack.
I love that. Uh, Mark posted a question in the chat, and I want to jump to that before we go on with some of the other questions. When it comes to nursing, I've always been interested in compassion fatigue. It's been a while since I've gotten to hear about it. Is that still something nurses make a priority of managing?
Yes, Mark, that is a very good question. When pre-COVID, nurses did have fatigue. I'll even give you an interesting story. It kind of ties back into that, but I work night shift and I work telemetry. So in my mind, I hear bed alarms going off because a high risk fall patient is about to fall out of bed. So I have to run. I hear the tele making sounds that it should not sound. And I know I got to run in that room, and you hear the call bell. So I would wake up in the middle of the night getting ready to jump out the bed because my mind had been so programmed to do these certain things. One of the things is knowing your why, as I spoke to earlier, and knowing your limitations. So for me, I love people. I'm a nurturer. I care. I go above and beyond. And I know my limitation is hospice. I cannot go there because I would be crying all day long, and I would carry those patients and those families home with me. And even though it is a beautiful thing that we want to do that, when do you get the rest? When you bring that home with you. Um, COVID and post-COVID, I see it quite a bit. So these are two tools that have worked for me because I have experienced that. You always want to give your best when you're at work. You want to do that. When it's time for you to go home, it's time for you to go home. Um, I make it a point when I see my team, oh, Shanell, I'm gonna come in and work extra. I'm gonna do that. It is my job as their leader to say, hey, when was your last vacation? When was the last time you did this? Because it can not only affect you professionally, but it also affects your personal life. So again, just knowing your why and setting limitations ahead of time and knowing when to ask for help.
I love that, especially the why. I I I think that's something that really keeps people motivated is answering and remembering that as you kind of navigate your career. My next question, what do you love most about your job, and what keeps you motivated and engaged in your work?
RJ, most people will find it boring, but I love quality, and most people have no clue what quality is. So I'll put a little tag in there for quality. But when there's safety events that happen, and this is not just in healthcare, it's across different disciplines, across different industries. But we kind of look to see what happened. Do we need to do a process improvement? We don't look to say someone came to work and they just decided to have this incident occur. We're trying to help you figure out how can we prevent this from happening again to you and to the patient. And it ties back into performance dollars for the hospital. And I tell people honestly, the hospital is my patient. So when you have a patient, you're looking at that patient up and down, you're looking at labs, you're looking at trends, and you're saying, okay, based on this diagnosis, I can expect XYZ. So I'm going to anticipate that and start getting the ball rolling. As the quality director, I have the patient, the hospital is my patient rather. So I look at all avenues where there could be risk, whether it's a workplace violence or a patient was misidentified, or we have a storm coming, gathering all of those folks together to figure out how can we keep the hospital safe? How can we keep the patients safe, the team safe? I love that. And the nice thing about quality is you get to merge with everybody. And that is one of the benefits about being a nurse. You can go in any avenue that you want to go. If you want to do IT, if you want to do education, if you want to be quality like me, which is awesome, or do leadership or stay bedside, There are so many ways to go. And I love that about nursing and how versatile we are, how we're able to collaborate with so many individuals that you wouldn't think that you matter and you matter. So quality, oh, it's a chef's kiss, as most people say. I love it.
Was that a tough transition for you, transitioning to that? Meeting with serving patients and then shifting gears into that. Was that a tough transition, or do you feel like you slid into it and it was just flawless?
Quality was always in bits, pieces, and I always tell people you do quality every day, making sure that your work is right and et cetera, on a smaller scale. I was a nurse manager and I was already suffering with not having a CNO, not having certain leadership in my hospital. And so I was running all the time. And I felt again, because I just had my bachelor's at this time, man, I don't feel like I do enough. And one of the people that I work with, I consider her a mentor as well. She said, Shanell, come on over here. We have a quality director role. And I said, I don't even know how to do my job. I don't know if I could do quality. They only come out when there's an incident. We don't see them any other time. And she said, no, it's much more than that. You'll have fun. RJ, it is the most fun I ever had. When we're preparing for surveys and accreditation, I walk around with candy, I walk around with little gifts and talk to people and ask them about stuff, open door policy, just revamped it. And I guess that's the beauty too when you love your career. As I always tell people, as long as you know your rules and regs, you can play in any which way you want to go. And so I didn't want to be that person that stayed in the ivory tower, as we called it. I wanted to be where the people were because that's where the action is happening. And I wanted them to feel like they could come and talk to me. So I enjoyed myself, immersed myself in orientation. When we had volunteer things, I did that. I would even go and tell therapy, and I'm not a therapist. Oh, if you guys need help, I wear scrubs. I can come and help you. And they're like, what? And that's what turned it around. And it's so much fun, but it went from, okay, you're going to be over case management, infection rates, coding and billing. And I was like, ugh. But then you find the joy in all the other stuff. And so it hands down is my favorite nursing job I've ever had.
I love it. And in the underlining thing there, like, could you just speak to the importance of like developing those relationships and that collaboration and the communication piece? Can you go deeper into that?
Absolutely. For so long, when I was a bedside nurse, I only saw with my horse blinders. This is our unit. This is what we do. I never really tied it into how it helps the organization's goals, their missions, and their strategic plan. What is it that they're trying to accomplish? And as I move further along in my career and moving into leadership and management, you get to see those things. And I said, how can we bring this back to people so they don't feel, well, I'm just doing this job. This is what I get paid to do. And I wanted to make it fun. And we would do town halls, retreats, different things just so people could say, hey, oh, that's what you do? Oh, I do this. And I said, collaborate with one another. You'll be amazed to find how much people are excited to share what they do, hence I'm here, but they also are willing to help out and do whatever because it helps make their load lighter. And so I do that. And with this new hospital I'm newer. So I go get lost. I start pushing elevator buttons to random levels. And I come out and I say, hi, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Shanell. I'm the new quality director. And I want you to get familiar with me because you're going to see me around. And that way, when you guys see me, oh, that's her. Let me ask. And tying all those pieces together. And also, as a leader, if you know someone in dietary has this process that they're trying to improve, and you know it probably ties in over here with therapy, you could say, hey, would you guys be interested in meeting up and going over that? And beautiful things have happened once people collaborate and understand, oh, this is what the mission is. Oh, you do that? I can help you with that. And I'm just that type of person, but it really will help you in your career and also in your personal life to collaborate and break down silos. Don't assume someone's job title means this and that's all they do. They do a lot more.
And I love that response because you could take that and apply it in any industry or profession. Like I just think that communication piece and building those bridges, I think are fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. Mark had a great question in the chat. What's a way non-nurse friends could help support nurses more that you know nurses typically find it hard to ask for directly?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I will liken it to my non-clinical friends in the hospital. Sometimes they feel an EVS or which stands for Environmental Care Services, that, okay, well, I'm not a nurse. I don't know how I'm supposed to help them. I want to help them, but we don't have a license and we don't have that. And one of their leaders sat down and they figured out how it correlates with infection. Cleanliness and all of that helps tie in with infections for that. So they sat down with a nurse and said, well, what can we do to make that better for you guys? Or the finance team. Sometimes we're like, well, why can't we get this? Is not in the budget. Well, can someone explain that a little bit more to us? What does that mean in sitting down? Outside of that, my boyfriend is probably my greatest person I get to vent to. He is non-clinical. He has no clue about anything, and he allows me to just vent. And he has no ties to anything. And he sits and he thinks, and he'll say, you know, I appreciate you coming to me, sharing this about this. And he has a different pair of eyes to look at the situation better than I did, or sometimes he just listens. And just like patients are, you hear them, oh, they're complaining. Well, no, they just want someone to listen. And I think that is the biggest thing for a nurse. There's so many things that's going on at once. You're juggling. And it would be nice to have a safe space to vent. And if we ask you something, please break it down to us because we are clinical people.
I always love when my nurse friends get very technical very quickly on things, and I way over my head. Let's put this in layman's terms, but I certainly appreciate that. And I think just that's therapeutic, just being able to talk about things, and having that support system, I'm sure is fantastic, especially, you know, during difficult times at work, just being able to talk about it, I'm sure is instrumental. Just being able to go in the next day and be able to function.
I wanted to add one more thing. It was something you said, RJ, and Mark, I hope this also clarifies too. Nurses move from room to room, and each patient is going through something totally different. So, in one room, you have a patient that is excited to go home. They're recovering from a stroke, they've gotten stronger. And then you go into the next room, and someone is ended care of life. And you juggle all of these emotions and all of these different things with being happy for some people, educating them on the next part, and then being with the family as they're saying goodbye to their loved ones. And one of the things that the hospital that I work at did, they came up with cold lavender. And it is an opportunity where nurses who have gone through a traumatic experience at the hospital, the pastoral care, social workers, they all have a room for these healthcare professionals to go to and debrief and just decompress. It, like you said, RJ, it is a lot when you balance 5, 6 people going through different journeys in their life in a 12-hour shift.
And I can't imagine the emotional roller coaster that must be, to your point, going from room to room and everybody has something different going on. I can only imagine how draining that might be, and then trying to keep up that same level throughout throughout a 12-hour shift. It's just, I can't even imagine, and kudos to our healthcare workers that are able to do that and do that. I do want to shift gears a little bit. Is there anything that excites you about the future? And it can be specifically about your role, it could be about healthcare as a whole, whatever direction you might want to take it. And that could be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, really open-ended for you.
Awesome. So I feel with AI and different things that are coming along, it will help nursing. Um, as always, since I've started nursing, there's a shortage, as people would say. And we have models where you can have a nurse sitting in a remote location that's able to look at a patient and help their bedside nurse do special things with care. And I love those ideas. I think it will help enhance patient safety and efficiency. The other thing I love is diversity. I love seeing men in nursing. I love seeing people who have different disabilities, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, because our patients are so unique and so dynamic. And it helps when they see someone that looks like them or who has experienced things like them. And that way we can have those voices build better communities and make better solutions. The third thing is, with so much going on, and especially with programs at WGU, that, like I said, my MSN was specialized in leadership and management. There's a track for education and other areas as well with that. And just seeing the rise of nurse leaders in executive roles and the C-suite wasn't always there, and being a part of policy making. I'm seeing nurses step into Senate and House of Representatives and being innovative. Nurses during COVID, how do we maintain keeping that patient feeling like we're there and we care? So many technological things have come out from that space. So I am really excited. I'm thrilled to see it, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
AI is that hot topic. I think everybody that we've asked that question to, AI has come up at some point during it. So I appreciate you sharing that. The last question that I have before I pass it over to those in attendance, how might you recommend somebody getting into your current role? Is there, a set path that somebody can take? Is it really, a ton of different directions? What recommendations might you have?
When I was in high school, there was a program for students to become nurse assistants. And here in Ohio, it's around a 2-week class. You get state tested and you get to work and pick up those skills. That's one route people choose. My route came across unorthodox. I was initially a pre-pharmacy student. I love pharmacy. I did the pharmacy technician program in high school. So I came out, was able to work and do that. And I worked in a long-term care pharmacy. It was closed to public, but we took care of prescriptions for patients or residents inside nursing homes, jails, that type of thing. And I keep staring at the prescriptions and said, oh, this person gets this. Oh, I wonder how that person is. How do they interact with that? And so tying it back to the question is, if you want to know, how can I actually touch the person? How can I see how I'm directly making an impact? That is what drove me to change to nursing. Most people will tell you become a nursing assistant. I was not a nursing assistant, and not to toot my own horn, I feel that I am a great nurse. But you will decide, you will know. We have people who do volunteer at hospitals. We have people who do transport. We have people that do radiology and all those different things, and you'll see them migrate over to nursing because they want to have a more hands-on appeal. So it's really what you want to do and how close you want to be to the patient.
I love it. So what we'll do from here is we'll open it up for questions. Mark, I see your question and I love the question. I don't know, would you be willing to come off mute and ask the question? It is a long one. And if not, I can read it.
Yeah, testing, testing.
Hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, so I did my best to word it while also like not dropping my attention for what you were saying, but like it's always come to me how I have great respect for nurses, but I always wonder how much of that is just because my mother and my sister have been career nurses, so I've always been exposed to everything they've been going through like since I was a small child. But then I've wondered, since I'm trying to enter like the tech industry with software development and data analysis, I can draw on from what made me respect nurses because of my mother and sister, but I don't quite know what to recommend other people to like, here's a quick thing you could do over the weekend to really see their world more. And I'm wondering like what are some things where that you could recommend to someone who you know they're never going to be a nurse, but if they just spent a weekend or did a workshop or did some sort of volunteer thing, it would really expose them to what nurses' lives are like and what really makes them valuable to everyone else's industries, and especially how those other people can contribute more to nurses from their industries without leaving it at the whole, oh, that'd be nice if I was willing to become a nurse, but I don't have time.
That's a good question, Mark. And there are quite a few different ways. Volunteering at the hospital is one. Um, where not just passing books or passing a newspaper. Some hospitals have patient observers. So even though you can't technically touch the patient or do anything, you can watch the patient care from the nurse and the nursing team and that aspect to get a better way. Another way is most hospitals on their websites, they will do spotlights on their nursing, on EVS, on their physicians, and it kind of gives you an avenue to see highlights of that day, what that looks like from that perspective, so you can see it that way. The issue is to say shadowing. It would depend on the hospital's policy, but that is one of the things we did when we were interviewing people, just to ensure that is this something that they want to do. And due to HIPAA and things like that, it's not much publicized or put out there. But that is another way to do that. Sometimes um, hospitals might have committees that other people can come, like lay people and people from the public can come out and see and listen to what those days look like again. But unfortunately, due to HIPAA, patient care, and all of that, it's really hard to watch a patient in their day to day, but they'll put videos out. For me, no one in my family was a nurse. So I was traveling a different path. My people are IT people, military people, that type of thing. But I was like, I want to venture out and try and see what this looks like. Um, and sometimes nursing schools, WGU, and I haven't looked on their site yet, they might have a video or they might have an information session that goes over what that looks like, you how you can help in that sense. I love that you have your mother and your sister there. They are a wealth of information. Um, Nurses are amazing because we make the top spot every year for being ethics over 20 years in a row. We're passionate about what we do. We love what we do. And again, it's just really hard with all the rules in place to say, hey, come with me for the day and see how I take care of a patient. I apologize if I wasn't clearly able to answer everything for you, but it's a sensitive world.
That was a fantastic response.
Mark?
Sorry, I'm like toggling the mute, but I think that was a fantastic answer, honestly. I'm I'm writing all of this down actually in the WGU Data Club Discord, giving them like little highlights and tidbits. So this is to me, this is like everything I've been looking for.
Mark, please reach out to me because even in healthcare, we utilize everyone, including individuals like you and your background and what you want to pursue and what you're looking for. So you might be able even to shadow someone from there. Where are you located?
I am in St. Paul, Minnesota. I have a friend who I believe is a nursing assistant. His name is Gabe, and he doesn't quite seem to know how to really transition into becoming a nurse or whether he wants to. And I've always wanted to see how I could give him little tidbits of information to really help him see where the opportunities are.
Mark, reach out to me after this and give me his information, and I'll feel free to reach out to him and share what I can.
I would love that. Do I find your email attached some in the summary email after this?
Sure, I'll ask that we do.
Yes, and or LinkedIn. So that was going to be one of my things. Chanel, is there a good place that people could reach out? I
LinkedIn,
okay,
and I can also give you my email address, and that way your friend Gabe can reach out to me because there's a couple of different avenues, seeing that he's already got his foot in the door.
awesome. Reminder: this session is recorded, so if you want to go back and reference anything that Chanel has said throughout, certainly do that. I'll give people another opportunity. If you had additional questions, posting those into the chat, or if you wanted to raise your hand, you can come off mute, and we can take that approach. Chanel, as we're moving forward here, again, thank you so much for jumping in and sharing this insight. We certainly appreciate it, and you just sharing your experience has been fantastic thus far. I did get a question into the chat. Did you get your MBA at WGU as well?
Absolutely, I'm a three-peat. I got my MBA. I'm specializing in healthcare management through there. One thing that I want to say, RJ, if it's okay, I am a first generation college student, so the lay of the land was not put out there for me. I also didn't have my parents growing up with me, so it was more disadvantages than there were advantages. But as a young person, I said, I want to make a difference in the world. And how do I do that? And for me, it was education. And of course, when you're in that, you think, okay, I'm good with my associates. But then when you see that there's so much a need and there's so many ways that we can bridge those gaps, that was mainly the reason, as I said earlier, I went back and got the MBA because I didn't want to be ranting and raving, oh, I'm a nurse, we need this, give it to us. I wanted to make sure that I could talk in their language and be able to convey to them why I need it, not just from the nursing standpoint.
And that was fantastic. I think it speaks to a lot of our students and alumni. You know, why WGU, but also you know, it's been fascinating hearing people you know, in a set field, and then they got the degree to then advance moving forward. And I think that just speaks to what WGU is as a whole, is being able to continue your career and move into new opportunities that maybe you didn't have previously, but using that degree as a springboard per se into that next chapter in your career. So that's that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Judy says, I'm debating going back for my MBA. You sound so well-rounded.
Thank you. Please go back and get it. It has improved how I am able to convey or articulate how I feel. Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, this is just the right thing to do. But you have to be able to give data-driven decision making and all that good stuff. Awesome sauce. One more thing that helps me, and I just recently did this. I keep a photo of myself from a pivotal point in my time. And mine is from when I was a little girl growing up in Charleston, South Carolina. And I look at her ever so often and say, look how far we made it. The dream wasn't this way, but look how far we came. And it just gives me what I need to say there's somebody else there out in the world like me, who have backgrounds being a single mom, being whatever that looks like, to say, we made it. And I want you to have grace with yourself and celebrate that, and just know that, well, you have a goal, but sometimes our journey takes us on a different path, and being okay with that.
And I just wanted to chime in, and I know, Shanell, we've chatted previously, and your story is, just you telling it is going to impact so many lives. So I very much appreciate you jumping in and kind of sharing some of that insight. And whether it's, those that are here live that are listening to it, or somebody that listens to this recording 6 months from now, like it's going to make an impact. Just hearing somebody else has also gone through, might be a similar situation or circumstance and came out the other side and were successful. Like, that's going to motivate somebody to know that they're not alone. And I can't thank you enough for sharing some of those insights and stories of your background.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here. I really, truly am.
And Mark just chimed in, what that pivotal point picture is quote worthy. And Mark, I probably will clip that up and utilize that moving forward. So I love it. Awesome. Does anybody have any other questions for Shanell? And I'll give people a second to post those into the chat, or if you wanted to come off mute and ask away. And a lot of positive feedback in this chat, Shanell. I don't know if you
Thank
can
you,
see
everyone.
some of
I
this.
really appreciate it. I just hope that, you guys know that there's someone out here like you. I love WGU. I can't tell you that enough. Sometimes they might think I'm too much of a fanatic, but I have everything inside of my office, WGU, and on my bags and everything. WGU has really changed my life, and I don't want it to sound cliche. I really, truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. I would not have been able to do my why on a greater platform had it not been for WGU and the system of support that they have behind us.
I love it. I guess my last thing for you, Shanell, would be any closing remarks, recommendations, advice that you'd like to just share that maybe you didn't cover in some of the questions that were asked that you feel like would be important for those that are attending or go back and watch the recording.
Absolutely. I'm always going to go back. I am the chair for the American Nursing Association, the state of Ohio's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. And it means so much to me that people like me, being a girl from South Carolina, whatever your background is, that you are needed and you're wanted. And for a long time, going back to the imposter syndrome, I felt, am I in the right place? Do I feel like I make a difference in someone's life? And I want you guys to know you do, and we need you. It doesn't matter where you come from, what it looks like, we need you. Being in nursing, let me tell you, there have been so many patients that have shared their life with me, and how grateful I am for that I was able to share that same time and space with them, to learn from them, and also to hear from them, I thank you for caring. I love nursing. It is in my blood through and through. It has to be a calling. It's not for money, it's for them. And you will find blessings in other ways from that. But the patients always fill my cup when I get to see them. But you are needed, you are wanted, and I would love to see more of you guys sharing your stories.
And before we even everybody came on, we were talking about our whys, and Shanell, I can't thank you enough for sharing that. And uh, I have a couple colleagues in here that are chiming in on a separate chat saying how motivating you have been just sharing your experiences, and we can't thank you enough for jumping on. But I just wanted to thank everybody for coming on and participating and asking questions. It's certainly been a pleasure, Shanell. We can't thank you enough. This has been fantastic. And like I had said, you know, whether it's somebody that's here right now or watches this 6 months from now, it's going to make an impact. And it's you sharing your story and letting somebody know that they're certainly not alone and that they can overcome any struggle that they might be going through and come out the other side, you know, much better than where they were currently. So thank you so much for this.
Thanks, everyone. And please feel free to reach out to me. I love helping people on their journeys as well.
Love it. All right, everyone, have a fantastic rest of the evening. Shanell, thank you so much. And reminder, this is recorded, it will be sent out, and I will be watching this moving forward. So everybody have a great rest of the evening. Take care.
Same. Thank you.